And now to our discussion segment, well, to speak on SEC shake-up in Nigerian crypto industry with new crypto capital rule and what this means. Is an economist and blockchain expert, Arome Abo. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you very much.
Okay, in simple terms, what is the SEC trying to achieve with this recapitalization of cryptocurrency? I mean, crypto operators, rather.
Well, I've actually perused the circular which was just released last week by SEC, which has just increased capital that needs to be held by virtual asset service providers and digitalized exchanges. And I think it's a leap forward for the adoption of cryptocurrencies in Nigeria. I'm sure Nigerians are aware of so many Ponzi schemes which have actually operated. And I think this is a step in the right direction, which will curb these frauds and try and put them to the minimum. Raising the threshold, I think it's good because it would bring serious players into the market and, most importantly, bolster investor confidence.
Now, why is the 2 billion naira paid up capital requirement significant for digital asset exchanges?
In my opinion, I actually think the 2 billion naira isn't actually enough. If you convert that to dollars, that's just above $1 million, considering the enormity of what's at stake here and how big this particular market is. I think it's a good step and it's a good start. It's a good starting point, but actually, I am of the impression that it should have been a lot higher.
Okay, which a lot of arguments out there that it seems to be a very huge amount for a lot of new entrants to actually meet the requirements.
Well, hence the emphasis for mergers. I think that the small players in the markets at the moment, if they can't meet up, and you do also need to remember, there's a grace period from now till I think it's March 2027
yes,
for this policy to be fully enforced. So I think this gives players in the industry at the moment time to either get the capital they need to operate fully. And you also need to remember this is capital that will be used to protect investor funds, just like we have in the traditional banking system where we have capitalizations required for banks by the CBN. So I think if given the timeline which has been given for adherence to this particular capitalization, it gives opportunities for players to either merge or exit the market.
Now, from an investor's point of view, does higher capital automatically mean safer crypto platforms?
Not necessarily. That's a very good question. Well, high capital doesn't necessarily translate to a safer investment. I think there are other measures which the government have to put in place, but I think it's a good start. And one of the reasons why high capitals are very often encouraged in markets is because it attracts more institutional investors as well. But the question is how, my only worry is about the enforcement because to the best of my knowledge, most of the digital asset exchanges in Nigeria, they operate, they do not have a Nigerian presence. I'm talking about, crypto escrow accounts like Remitano and Luno. They actually operate clandestinely, and the question is, I wonder how this could be enforced, but as regards to capitalization, I do encourage that very much.
Okay, how will these rules actually reduce fraud, platform failure, or loss of customer funds?
Well, it will actually increase a lot of the, when platforms such as these realize they need to actually have more and more capitalization, I think they will be more willing to do the needful as regards protecting investor funds. You also need to remember that this is just one part. I'm sure the SEC will ensure that they enforce anti-money laundering and KYC and also CFT, which is a countering of the terrorism of financing in Nigeria. So it's one part, but I'm sure they'll complement this with AML and KYC characteristics as well.
Well, some actually argue that many Nigerian crypto startups are relatively young. How realistic is this? Is it for them to actually raise 2 billion naira?
Well, that's a good question, but you also need to understand that Nigeria at the moment, it's one of the biggest cryptocurrency markets by the amount of volumes that we actually trade on a daily basis. I think one of the ways that digital asset exchanges in this particular space can increase their capitalization is by seeking foreign direct investments. These are some of the things that some of these exchanges, we have huge international exchanges like Binance who are already operating in Nigeria. The little ones can seek partnership with big players like Binance and the likes, yes.
Okay, do you see this policy likely pushing innovative local players out of the market?
Not really. In my opinion, actually believe that this policy will sieve out the serious players from the ones that are not serious. I think given the window which has been given till March, it will be a time where most of the serious the exchanges would either have to partner up and merge or leave the market.
Okay. Then you are saying that we are likely going to see more mergers and acquisitions happening as a result.
Most likely, yes.
Okay. Now critics argue that the rules could make Nigeria less competitive globally. Do you agree?
I disagree, absolutely. If you take a look at what's happening in America, for example, we had the chief executive of Binance, CZ, as is called, he went to prison for not fulfilling certain KYCs on clients. I actually believe that these policies are not even stringent enough as compared to what you'd realize in other climes.
Okay, so now let's do a kind of comparative analysis. How do Nigeria's capital requirements compare with those in other major crypto markets like the UK, UAE, or South Africa?
Well, just up until recently, exchanges like Binance were regulated by the Securities and Exchanges Commission of the USA. And at the time, I think their capitalization was in the billions of dollars at the time. And if you remember, Sam Bankman-Fried, which was actually the CEO of another exchange, had to go to prison because he actually, mismanaged investor funds. So personally, I believe the 2 billion, which has actually been set by SEC, is a good start. And you need to understand that we, as a country, anyone who's operating a digital asset exchange in Nigeria should be able to compete globally. So I think the SEC targeting the 2 billion mark is mostly focused on the Nigerian market. And I think that's good for a start.
Okay. Well, is the SEC striking the right balance between regulation and encouraging innovation with this move?
Yes, there are actually, because if they weren't, they wouldn't have actually put this policy in place. But most importantly, you need to understand that the protection of investor funds is the primary mandate of the Securities and Exchanges Commission before anything. That's their mandate that establishes them. So I think if they're doing everything they can to ensure that the depositors' funds are protected, I think that translates to fostering innovation as well.
Okay, with June 2026 deadline, what strategy should existing operators adopt?
I think the strategy is what I mentioned earlier. If they can't meet up with the targets, I think mergers and acquisitions should be the order of the day. And I think it's better to have one or two big players that can actually provide the steady liquidity we need to trade in this market than to have multiples and having to deal with frauds. Because I'm sure you've seen over the past couple of years, Nigeria has been a target for a lot of fraudulent exchanges, and a lot of Nigerians have lost so much money. So I think this is laudable by SEC, and I think they should be encouraged and motivated to do more.
Do you see this particular move by the Securities and Exchange Commission making Nigeria a trusted crypto hub in Africa?
Exactly. That's one of the things I was going to mention earlier. Okay. Most importantly, this particular circular, because I perused it in its entirety, what it does, it bolsters confidence. And if it bolsters confidence, it will attract more foreign direct investment into Nigeria. And like I also mentioned earlier, Nigeria is one of the biggest trading one of the biggest countries that trades Bitcoin by volume.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Arome Boy. It's a pleasure having you on the program.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.